Well, hello, everybody. It is Dennis and Andy with your movie review in a few. We take a movie we saw, we review it for you nice and quick. Start with non-spoilers, then we tell you we're moving to spoilers so you can leave if you don't want to hear them. This week's movie, you saw it. We saw it last night. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. This was brand new to me. I never read Dracula, as Dennis last night after the movie when I told him that. He disparaged me quite hard. I felt the abuse.
And rightfully so. Guys, this was interesting because it's something that a lot of us have been kind of waiting for. This movie is based on a single chilling chapter from Bram Stoker's classic novel, Dracula. This story tells it's a terrifying story of the merchant ship Demeter, which was chartered to carry the private cargo. It basically had 50 unmarked wooden crates that it was carrying from Carpathia to London. But strange events befall this doomed crew as they attempt to survive the ocean voyage, stalked each night by a merciless presence that's on board the ship. When the Demeter arrives off the shores of England, it is a charred derelict wreck. There's no trace of the crew. Well, what happened?
You know what's funny? Charred derelict wreck. That is exactly how I described an ex-girlfriend one time. So that's see, life comes together. Like I said, I never read the book. I know nothing about the story. I just saw the trailer and it's Dracula, so I'm down. I thought the visuals in the trailer of the vampire Dracula was so cool, and they didn't show a lot. So I was intrigued just from that. In the movie, you know, you've got obviously the captain, his shipmates. One of the new shipmates is this black character. What was his name in the movie? You know me, I don't remember. Clemens. He's basically the star of the movie, the main character and stuff. Oh man, I don't want to spoil anything. So I was going to say something else, but I think it's a spoiler, so I'll just shut up. I thought the movie's 2 hours long. I thought it moved at a nice pace. I wasn't ever bored. I wasn't sitting there going, come on, let's hurry this up. I thought it had a nice build to it as well. And what I mean by that is, as the movie went on, I thought the director did a great job of showing more and more of the creature as it went on. You know, sometimes they'll just right out of the gate be like, let's just get it out there. And he didn't do that. It was a nice build to a nice crescendo in the third act.
This was billed as basically Alien meets, Dracula on the Seven Seas. And in a lot of ways, it really was. We'll get into that more in the spoiler section. But, he did a nice job. It starts off and, you start to get introduced to the crew members or the ones that could be the crew members, and you start getting their idiosyncrasies. And I thought there was a great development. Liam Cunningham, which we all know from Game of Thrones, plays Captain Elliot.
He was awesome.
He was a standout. I mean, an absolute standout. Corey Hawkins, who played Clemens, played a really great character. David Dastmalchian, who played Wojciech, he wound up, and you heard his name a lot throughout the movie. He was fantastic in it. Woody Norman plays the little boy Toby, which is the captain's grandson. You just felt endearing to him. And then Aisling Franciosi, she played Anna, the girl they find on board. And again, she played her role very well. You get to meet most of the other crew because you're on a voyage across the sea in this tiny little ship where they have to build suspense as something's hunting them, very much like Alien. And I think on many of the levels it worked. The other thing that I will say is effects. There was a mixture of CG and practical effects. In horror type movies like this, the practical effects always stand out as being better. But I thought this had a decent mix for the budget of bringing both of them together. I rather enjoyed it.
No, I agree. I thought the CG was pretty seamless. There was long shots of, this is 1690 something or whatever it takes place.
1897.
97. And there were long shots of like the dock in the city and stuff. And right there, I'm going, this has got to be green screen CG stuff, digital stuff. Looks great. Some of the long shots on the open sea, I was like, that's got to be CG. Thought it looked great. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. So we'll just give it the review to let you guys know if you should go out and see it. And then we'll hop into spoilers. Andy, start us off.
I will. I'm going strong on this one. I'm very curious to see what you say compared to what I'm about to blurt out. I'm going an 8.0.
Wow. Nice.
Dude, I've seen I don't want to say I've seen all the Dracula movies because I haven't seen all the black and white ones. So let's go with I've seen all the modern day, bigger budget Dracula movies. I'm sure in the past 30 years there's been some low budget crap I've missed, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen all those. I thought this one was great. I thought, this is not a spoiler. It's the Nosferatu looking Dracula, just taken to another level. I thought that was great. I'm giving it an 8.0.
Nice. I'm giving it a 6.5. I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was solid. I think the strength of this movie was on the characters that the crew did. I thought they did a decent job. I thought the script was a little weak, but I thought the actors' performances, pulled it through. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. But I would definitely, if you are a fan of Dracula, I think you will like this more than if you are not.
It's no Robert De Niro Frankenstein.
Definitely not. So I would still recommend going to see it.
So we average it out at a 7.25.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep, that's not bad, guys. So we think
Not
it's
bad.
worth seeing.
All right. What doing the critic stuff?
Yep. So for the spoiler side of things, one thing that was introduced early, and you're either going to love it when it's injected or you're going to hate it. And that was Corey Hawkins' character, Clemens. They basically introduced Victorian age racism into it.
Wait a second. Wait. Are we getting into the spoilers now?
Yeah, I just said that.
That's what I thought. But don't you, after our grade, don't you say the audience and stuff? And then we do spoilers? Because that's what I said. I said, are you going to do the Rotten Tomato stuff?
You know what? I will do that. Sorry, everybody. Let's just go in and see. IMDb is giving it a 6.6.
Is that critic?
What's that?
IMDb is 6.6 critic. Do they split it up between critic and audience or no?
10, nope. And then Rotten Tomatoes, there is no audience score yet, which is stunning. Considering I know a lot of people already out posting about it. The critics hate it. They're giving it a 38% currently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is much better than that.
Now, for people that don't want spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Let's talk spoilers. Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, getting back to what I started saying was they introduced basically Victorian age racism with the character.
They do.
A black doctor who, was very smart, top of his class, but had a hard time getting in, gets out. Nobody wants to hire him. He goes and gets this job. They bring him on board, meet him, and go, oh, my God, you're black. Yeah, I can't use you. You're stuck over here. And I am just like, even back in this day, it's just something that you're either going to really latch onto this and you're going to want to know more about his background, or you're going to be like, why does this even need to be in something on here? This is a tale, and I get, if you want to delve into the character's background, and I love when they get deep into a character's background if there's time, but I thought it was unnecessary, and I would have liked to known more about his skills and things that he learned and would have done versus, look, I'm black, therefore people won't accept me for who I am.
Right. And the other thing too is, so in the beginning, they need 3 more deckhands, 3 more shipmates, whatever you want to call them. And all these guys are lined up. And it was pretty sad that, hey, here's this actor. He's the only black guy in the lineup. It's like, come on, you could have put a couple more in the lineup. So there's that sticks out. And then, when the, not the captain, but the second in charge is looking at the guys to choose, he gets to them. They have a little bit of a conversation. The guy tells him where he went to school, blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of looks down at his hands. And this is what I picked up, Dennis. I don't know if this is what you read into it, but when he looked down at his hands, I read into that his hands were basically soft, not like mine, wimpy hands, because right. I don't do hard labor, and passed on him for that. So in that first meeting, I did get the underlying tinge of, oh, it's because he's black, but I also did get a heavy feeling of, dude, your hands are just so nice. We need people that can work.
And in that instance, I agree with that because right. Wojciech, who looked at him, these are not working hands, which is right. absolutely true.
But on the ship
movie,
right.
Clemens brings up multiple times why he gets angry and why things like
right.
this bother him. And again, in today's day and age, we don't need this kind of stuff set back in 1897 to be brought forward.
1697.
It's 1897.
Oh, I thought it was 16. That's fine. So anyhow, 1897 then. I totally agree with you. The whole thing is when you introduce story elements, it should always be moving the story ahead. Is this important? Does it move the story ahead? There was nothing about this guy's race when they brought it up in the movie, even when Clemens himself brought it up, that propelled the story forward. And I'm not saying get rid of the guy and just have a white actor in it. Have him. That's fine. But you don't even need to bring it up. Right. It's just not important.
His character was great. His acting was great. I liked him as a character. There was just no reason other than for today's political climate to interject that on there, particularly when you look at the rest of the crew, how their interactions were. The captain was fantastic. He's stepping down. This is his last voyage. He's retiring. He's going to turn the ship over to Wojciech, who, shed a tear because he realized the captain thought that much of him and stuff. There were some very heartwarming moments in there. Joseph, who's the cook, he's very Christian. He believes in the doomsayers, and he wound up being a very cool. When we saw him, his interactions were good. All the characters had their moments in there, and I thought they were all solid. Aisling, of course, she is your strong female character in here who doesn't just take a pistol. She grabs the big rifle, and boy, can she use it. And but she wound up being the interesting character because she was what Dracula fed on, we find out in there, in all of these crates. And they allude to Dracula early in the movie when the scene where the crate comes crashing down and Clemens saves little Toby, and that's how he's allowed on the ship. But they see it, and one of the crew members they just hired quits. You never told me anything about the dragon. So the dragon symbolizes the family, which is Dracula in there. And he's right. Like, yeah, I'm out. This is a doomed voyage. You guys, I'm peacing out.
But the other question I had was when the crate, so like Dennis said, they're loading this big crate onto the boat. Obviously it's the crate that Dracula's in. The rope slips or something. Clemens saves Toby. But when the crate hits the ground, it seemed to crack a little bit and some dirt fell out. And this might be a dumb question, but do you think that if the crate never hit the ground and that dirt fell out, he would never have came out of the crate during the voyage? Like, was that the impetus for, oh, okay. Honestly, I was like, oh, maybe that's the foreshadowing of, oh, he's going to come out because for some reason, letting some of the dirt spill is what caused it. I honestly didn't know.
Yeah, the crate, when you find out later on, the coffin, we'll call it, it was a cool, interesting device, mechanical devices, how the corner pieces that look decorative actually pull out, swing out, and reveals mechanisms underneath, which actually you hear and you can see it releasing all these latches and things like that.
Yeah, but my question then was, if you're lying inside of it, how do you get out? Because
So
they
chances are that with that mechanical device, he's got a switch inside of
right.
it. He would have built it so that he has access, and that's how it moves in and out and stuff like that. So there were some neat little things
And
that
then
they put into.
and then during the rough seas, and Clemens goes down into the hold to check stuff, and he sees that big pile of dirt where you knew something was going to happen. The not stowaway, but the girl pops out of it, is obviously because one of the crates fell and busted open. So my question was, and once again, I never read the story. Maybe it's explained in it, maybe it's not. Were there other like humans that he feeds on in all the other crates?
Most of the crates are all going to be dirt. I mean, that's what they did.
Just literally just dirt.
It is dirt from Carpathia that they are bringing over. So they did a nice job, and she was on there, and then they go through and you can see the bite marks. They go and explain it. The one thing that didn't make a lot of sense was the blood transfusions and how that worked. I thought that was kind of weak sauce, how they did it. And, here, I'll just use my blood and hopefully that works, because we all know today, but back then he just did it and it worked. He had to do it again for his grandson. Okay. But, they used it as a plot device to move things forward.
Right. And I didn't, when he did that blood transfusion to save her, we both had the same reaction. Like, wow, that's going out on a limb. Hope that works. Yep. Obviously it did. Yep. And then Toby, the son, gets attacked by Dracula, which was pretty shocking, because usually with kids, it's not that kids don't die in movies, but usually it's not vicious and seen. And this was pretty vicious, and he didn't die right away. His grandfather, the captain, gave him a blood transfusion, which you can buy. But once again, just because it's his grandfather doesn't mean he's going to have the same blood type. So 2 for 2 with matching blood types.
Yep. That's good luck.
The first guy, one of the shipmates or ship hands, whatever, that got attacked, he basically, his eyes turned totally white. He was able to break free because he was freaking out. So they tied him down. He was able to break free. And long story short, they're able to capture him and tie him back up to one of the sail posts on the deck of the ship. But then as the sun comes up, you're like, oh, let's see if this is going to happen. Oh, yeah. He burst into flames, and the special effects for it were freaking awesome. Obviously CG'd, but really freaking cool.
So one of the things that we do need to touch on before we have to wrap up is, one of the things like Alien is you start small and you keep building the suspense, not only the suspense to how the crew gets attacked, but the revealing more and more. In Alien, it was the xenomorph. Here it's Dracula. So the two things about it, they did a nice job where you first see him barely able to move, scratching on the ground. Every time he sucked some blood and bit the blood of the animals, he got stronger. So he went from, barely able to crawl to now being able to stand, now being too quick, now to starting to grow wings and look like almost like Man-Bat. He looked very much like Man-Bat. Yeah. And that was a cool progression. But so I thought they did a great job. Same thing with the suspense and how they were getting picked off. I thought they did a nice job on that whole section. The problem that I had with Dracula itself is every version of Dracula basically is Dracula in his human form for a lot of the story, where he's all about the charm and how he can lure women with his gaze and this personality. And this one was more almost like a xenomorph. He didn't have much of a personality. It was almost like a force of nature, like a undead primal force. And with an occasional grin or a few words here and there, I thought that was a little lacking. Either you turn him completely into a primal force or you really give him the personality, because you never really see him in human form until the part in the movie where I think this is where the movie jumps the shark, at the very end of the movie where they basically set up a sequel where, you know, Clemens is in the inn/bar, and all of a sudden you hear the tapping that they, you know, foreshadowed throughout everything. He turns and looks, and there is Dracula, still looking like a bat, but just walking around with humans, except he's in a top hat and a nice London fog trench coat kind of thing, walking around. And he leaves and he goes, "I'm going to get you," like he's Van Helsing kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, totally didn't fit. That ending really knocked it down a little bit because I thought it was a little more enjoyable. I didn't like the way they ended it. But overall, it was an enjoyable movie that was solid. And remember, guys, this is based on one chapter of the novel that they created an entire movie. I would have liked to see a little more of the Dracula stuff throughout the ship and a little less, because at some points it's a little slow, but it's not bad. I think if they would have just switched it around, I think it would have been a much better movie. Solid, not perfect, but still worth a watch.
I'll be contrary. I didn't mind the ending. I didn't think it jumped the shark. I thought it was natural with the progression of the more he fed, the more he was able to transform and whatnot. So I didn't mind it. I hope there's a sequel. The woman in the movie, when she appeared, I was like, oh, it's 1897. What are the chances that the one woman in the movie that is on the ship that he feeds on is a cute chick? And Dennis is like, no, she's not. And I'm like, really? You don't think this is a cute chick? Of course it's not. Is it showing on your end? I'm still waiting.
Nope.
It'll get there. I don't know what the hell is going on. Let me try this. Try this. What the hell is going on with the computer these days? Man.
Well, move on. Let's wrap this up because we're over 22 already.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up with, guys, we announced yesterday Kor-Drath The Reckoning is steadily approaching $100,000. And the stretch goal for that is going to be a 4-page story featuring Bud Root art, pencils and inks, even co-wrote it with Dennis. Well, wrote it and shot some ideas past Dennis. Dennis greenlit. It is starring Lilith, the very sexual succubus that we created. Bud drew a variant cover of her. It's going to be a t-shirt as well. You can't get the shirt anymore, but you can still get the variant cover. This is page 1 in progress. We want to show you Bud's work in progress. The 4 pages of original art will be for sale, and they're huge. This page is on 18 by 24 paper. Bud likes drawing big. 76 pages, barbarian action. The link is in the description below. Go check it out. You will not be disappointed. That is Kor-Drath The Reckoning. You're going to love it. I got to try one more time. That really pisses me off that my screen sharing isn't working. Guys, thanks for joining us for the latest movie review in a few. The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Wednesday, 5 p.m., Chad Townsend is joining us to talk about his latest project, Black Phantom. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Live long and prosper.